Hello again. I'm Roni. And just to refresh your memory, I've written a diet book, and this is my book launch event via Zoom. Thank you so much for being here. Did you know that the average American woman is a size 14? I have to say, while I'm thrilled with all this talk of representation in media and all the progress we've made, I still wonder, where are the average sized American women? If an alien came down to Earth and just watched movies or TV, it would think that the only women who mate on this planet are undernourished nymphs. The reality is that there are kind of a lot of us average American women out here, and I, for one, would love to see us represented in media. Not just the size -0 movie version of us played by Kate Hudson. And yes, I am aware that -0 is not actually a number. But of course, I'm digressing. I was telling you before about my mother. My mom. I do believe that all those admonishments she gave me as a girl about weight and eating, well, she did that out of some sort of protective instinct. I think she really believed that if I wasn't thin, then maybe my life would be ruined. And I have to say that for so many years, I tended to agree with her on that front. And then my mom got sick. My young, beautiful, slender mother, who had always been the picture of perfect health for her entire life, got cancer. You know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were all sort of sugar addicts without realizing it. I mean, we didn't even drink water in those days. We just guzzled Minute Maid apple juice made from concentrate that was in a plastic orange pitcher in our fridge. But not my mother. She didn't drink juice from concentrate. My mother was a low-calorie queen. We didn't keep any sugary treats in our house. Lunch for me each day was a soggy half tuna sandwich, a mealy red apple, and a juice box. One of my favorite foods growing up was a half cantaloupe with all the seeds scooped out of the middle and a scoop of cottage cheese where the seeds used to be. This felt like a treat in a house that was otherwise devoid of treats. As a child, I loved to eat, loved food. Not much has changed in that department. And I think that my mother loved food too, except she didn't eat much of it. My mother spent her life striving to be thin. The only things I remember her eating or drinking as a child were carrot sticks, celery sticks, and tab, and the occasional scoop of tuna salad thrown in for good measure. When I was a teenager, she used to put dinner on the table and then go work out on the treadmill and leave us to eat because she wanted to make sure she wouldn't be tempted to eat any of the food herself. My mother bought cocaine from her manicurist, not because she thought it sounded like a good time, but because she had heard it was a good appetite suppressant. And she used it for a while, and it was. As my mother got older, she had a healthier approach to her self-deprivation. Each day she might eat a microwaved piece of salmon or chicken, and then the rest of the day she would just nosh on fruits or vegetables. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer on a bright February morning. Just 2 months prior, she had received a clean bill of health from her physician. She had blood pressure 110/70, a perfect blood panel, and of course, a BMI to boast about. There were no signs of disease. And 2 months later, she was in pain that she couldn't explain. She invited me out to a brasserie, and we talked about what might be wrong with her: gallstones, or acid reflux from caffeine or citrus, or excessive gas because aging is a bitch. And we laughed, and we drank one glass of wine and then another. And she insisted on ordering escargot. For me, she said she would only have a taste, but she ended up eating every last one herself. So I knew something was up. Once we got her diagnosis, we went out to eat together all the time for as long as she was able. I deeply cherish these memories of eating exquisite food in elegant restaurants. Mm, chicken liver pate melting on a hot buttered baguette, washed down with a glass of perfectly chilled rosé, and the din of fellow diners all around us, and gorgeously appointed plays, and French pop music playing in the background, weird but oddly sophisticated. Mm, I deeply treasure these special memories, and I wish that I had more of them. But more importantly, I wish that she did. As her disease progressed, she fought to eat and fought to put on weight. I'll never forget going to her oncologist with her and her quaking with fear that the number on the scale might go down that week. For the first time in her life, she did not want it to go down. We thought of foods that she could stomach that might help to fatten her up, and she took to eating foie gras whenever she could get her hands on it. She said it was for the iron and the protein and the fat, but really, it was because this was a food that she loved, and she had spent a lifetime denying herself foods that she loved. I guess all of this did cause a shift in my perspective on things. All that stuff I told you earlier about my mom giving me a hard time about my weight when I was a girl, all of that just melted away. And all we did was radiate love back and forth between us. Cancer doesn't discriminate, you see. It's not, as some might have you believe, a disease you only get if you eat Doritos on the daily, or guzzle Diet Coke, or don't exercise. And neither, by the way, is Alzheimer's or diabetes or heart disease or COVID-19 or any number of calamities to which literally any one of us is vulnerable. This illusion of control that we have, that is perpetuated by a profit driven machine that actually wants us to hate ourselves, it is just that. It's an illusion. No matter how good we think we are, how disciplined, we'll never have ultimate control. And so my mother's illness got me thinking. She denied herself these things that she loved, and in service of what exactly? And if I keep trying to beat my body into submission, what will I be missing out on? Do I want to spend 6 months or 6 weeks or even 6 days without bread or wine? You know what, people? These things are in the Bible. Multiple religious traditions have ritual and blessings around them. Clearly, God wants us to enjoy that shit. There are those among us who might frown upon instant gratification. But isn't instant gratification one of the great joys in life? When men have orgasms, we don't poo-poo their need for instant gratification. No, we celebrate their virility. There are a lot of simple joys in life that are merely instant gratification, and I, for one, have chosen now to prioritize these among my most treasured things going forward. You learn a lot when you watch someone die of a brutal disease. And one of the things that I've learned is we better enjoy this shit while it lasts, because it sure ain't gonna last forever. On that note, that's all the time we have. Please join me again for the next installment of Roni Writes a Diet Book. Ta-ta!